Okay, then. So basically, as we discussed, today is an aberration. So if we just look at the big picture, I'm not going to go through all of the stuff we normally go through, um, because basically the day's not been playing out. But if we look at the 2 hour chart, we can see that, a couple of days ago we were waiting for this pop up through 6750. And we got the pop up, and then it came down yesterday, and it tested 6750 to the tick, which is a beautiful thing. So basically, coming in today, I'm really happy because I'm saying, right, we've now, we broke out above 6750, a level we're looking at. I said if we go above 6750, my expectation is we'll run the highs again. So yesterday we came back and tested 6750 the tick and came up. So my expectation coming into today is that we're going to run the highs. Now, then we get the news that Putin is going to have an emergency session, and that just kind of throws all of the analysis out of the window. But what you got to do now is kind of watch it and see, okay, we've absorbed the news, and basically everybody's had a little boondoggle today. People have made a lot of money out of it, and what we saw this morning was a lot of people, a lot of speculation. So what we look at now is, okay, are we back to normal, and is the game still back on? So basically, what I'll be looking at now, we're going to look at the day, but in terms of long term, I'm looking now for the 6750 to stay, to hold, if we do test it, and then march back up. So my premise coming into today is back on the table, obviously, as long as we don't have a lot of bad news coming in over the Ukraine. So basically, as long as we don't start to be very news driven like we were when we had all the crisis in Spain and Portugal, then I do expect us to hit the 1900s, which is obviously a bit vague, easy said, but I think because we got support 6750, we should go to the highs again. Now, going into today, I'm not going to look at the profiles because they're not going to really matter for today, and you're not going to get anything out of me that I didn't go through on the prep. What I will do first, let's move the clock out of the way. I'll just take a look at this. This is the picture we had. You can see the time there, 9:25:52. This is the Globex session. Okay, so what we can see, 72.75 was our low, 82.50 was our high. The kind of the important stuff was this area here. So sometimes in the room you'll hear me say, I'm looking at some levels into the open, and what we're effectively doing is looking at the areas that we had a lot of volume into the open. So we can see I've got 10,000 contracts here, 22,000 contracts here, 10,000 contracts here. So those are that's the kind of value area in the Globex session. And my expectation is going in that those areas are going to get tested. And if one of those areas holds, doesn't matter from which side, but if one of those areas holds and we see the opposite side come in, we're probably going to get a run. We're probably going to get a little bit of a move. Doesn't always work, but it happens very often. So we had 78.50 where the most volume was, and then 78 below that was kind of another step. Then we got into the open today, and what do we see? We opened at 78.25. No will to go above 78.50. So effectively, that area where we had the 22,000 contracts just before the open, they didn't even want to trade it. I mean, we just got 11 contracts hit into that. So then what did we do? Because it's been an interesting day in terms of the action on the way down. And I know a lot of you probably don't watch the order flow, but I'm going to try and twist your arms a little bit in terms of what happened on the way down. So as we were talking in the room, I mentioned, as we were coming down, we built this volume here at 76.50. I mentioned that I was going long 76.25. Okay, and I can't remember, but effectively we'd come down to yesterday's high, and I thought we were going back up 76.25. I took a long there, and as I went long there, and again I said this in the room, we got all this volume after I went long. So we got 5,800 contracts traded into the offer. So that's 5,800 by market orders traded into the offer there. And you could see after I bought, there were buy market orders, 100, 200, 300 contracts. Big buy market orders hitting 76.50, 76.50, 76.50 after I got in. And the market couldn't tick up through that price. Okay, so it's good to see these big guys. Good to see like 100 lot trade, 200 lot trade, 500 lot trade. It's great to see that on your side. But when it market doesn't even move up a tick on that, you're effectively, well, those buyers are trapped, but you're also trapped. So effectively, what happened? I said in the room, I said, there's big buyers at 76.50. I need a pop up within the next couple of minutes, or it's going to collapse. And that was effectively the start of the collapse. Wasn't at 78.50 here. The start of the collapse was this area here, where all those buyers bought in 76.50, and they just couldn't get any traction. That was when it started to come down. Now on the way down, we had a couple of areas where it did pause. The first one, we've got a couple of different things that happened on the way down. First of all, here at 72.75. What we've got here, this 3109 there might not look significant, but if you look at the column, you can see the numbers are generally smaller, because this kind of column here is showing me what's hitting right now. So effectively what happened is we came to 72.75 and we got 3,109 sell market orders hit into 72.75 all at once, and there was some big trades in there. And the bids at 72.75 came down 1,600, and it was all down at 10. And it was like 10, 10, 10, 10, and the sellers were hitting it, and the bidders refreshing, until the bidders couldn't hold it anymore. And it was just, if you watch the trades hitting the bids, and if you watch the dome at what's going on, you could see the depth was almost down at 0, but it just kept staying at 10, 50, 100. And it just kept refreshing there. So you could see somebody was trying to hold the market. And what you've got there, you've actually got 3,100 on this side and 2,200 on the other side. So you actually had buyers active as well. So you had bidders holding it, but you also had buyers hitting into the offer that were trying to push it up as well. And that was a kind of an area where we had some two-sided trading. I imagine a fair amount of people got trapped there. I imagine a fair amount of people got caught. Just because of the amount of contracts traded, but just because you could see somebody was holding the market and they couldn't hold it. Then we come down to here, 71.75. We've got something similar again, 2,000 contracts hitting in, but this time nothing on the buy side. And then again down here at 1869, we've got 2,294 contracts and nothing on the buy side. And what the story was on the way down is, we had a bit of a battle here, but then it just became one-sided. Down here. And what we were seeing on the way down is we're seeing a bit like what we can see on the tape here. We've effectively got, we'll have contracts hitting into the offer, 100, 200, 300, 400, 400 at a time, 500 at a time, 100 at a time. Just these trades, big buy market orders, and the market's ticking up 2 ticks. It's holding the market, but the market's just getting up a couple of ticks, and then it's collapsing down again. So we kept seeing buyers coming in. Market's ticking up like 2 ticks, but they're throwing buy market orders at it, and it's just not getting anywhere. And it's really been a fantastic day in terms of order flow, just to see that buying just do nothing. So we did that on the way down, okay, and we can ignore the levels because effectively we were news driven and it just drove through all the levels. And look at where we are now. So what is it we need to see now? Well, the first thing is, the sellers are going to take advantage of it. In fact, there's no such thing as sellers, right? It's traders. So traders in the morning, it's not really long-term hedge funds, mutual funds getting out of the market this morning because of that news. It's speculators trying to drive the market down. Speculators selling on the news, basically. So those short-term guys, we had this move down. We came back up. On the way up, we see the move down. On the way up, the delta came back up about 7,000 contracts, and then we collapsed again. And it's nothing more than, if you were up here trading, you're just going to be more nervous as a long than a short, okay? Because of the big move down, because of the way it was kind of ferocious. And so then we had this move down again, and all the deltas down. Is that 100? That's 14,000 to minus 20. So the delta's down about 35,000 contracts. That isn't huge, but now we're just kind of going sideways. And so what's the trade right now? Well, you could argue right now, you could argue that you have a long bias because a couple of things have happened. We've ticked down, we made a daily low, we ticked through the daily low, and now we've moved up, and as we've moved up, delta's gone up 20,000. We've got back most of the delta. So you could actually start looking at this as a range and trying to buy into the bottom of this range, like 69. But right now, personally, I'd be looking at this whole thing to be a range. So 72.50 down to 63.75 potentially as a range. So looking at it on a volume profile perspective, that makes a bit more sense. So we can see the volume here tapering off about 72.50, and we can see down here, about 65 where the volume tapers off. So from a volume profile perspective, you've got no trade on right now. From looking at a delta, a swing perspective, you potentially got a long, but from a volume profile perspective, you're in the middle of the thick of the volume profile today. You're in the middle of value for the day. If you get back down here, then yeah, maybe you've got prospect for a long, but you're really going against the grain then. The best opportunity, I think, if we can get it, is if we can actually break out of this range and like break up, from 72.25, maybe get up to 74.25, 74.50, and then maybe come down and test this 73 area for a long. So right now, I think, the long-term view, the levels, I wouldn't play those today, but I would bring them in again tomorrow. But for now, because of the way all this volume is traded in here, I think is a very tough trade. And I think that it's a tougher trade the closer you are to the 69.25 area. Because, the markets do have a tendency to rotate around the highest volume area of the day. So that's what I've got, Eddie. I think it's been a very interesting day.
It has. No. Question on the way down. On the way down, we did see those 73s trading.
Yeah.
Trying to get back to that, but at that 73 level, it does show that. Looking on yours, that it does show 13.5 as far as volume goes. You think that was some stop slippage, or do you think that there was some stops there?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you bring across the, if we look at it in terms of the profile, we had 6,700 contracts trade there. And just below that was where we had the iceberg. So there's
Right.
3,100 contracts. So my guess would be that's the area they were trying to hold it. And
Right.
they were kind of,
Didn't happen too well.
it didn't go to plan now, but I mean, just the way, I mean, I didn't notice them trying to hold it at 73, but 72, 75, it was really obvious that they were trying to hold it. And I think that was their last ditch attempt at trying to hold it. But, and that was significant volume at the time. But now if we look at it, it's kind of not that significant now. And I would imagine, probably those, maybe it's a level to lean on later, but I think most people, if we move up, are going to be looking at the top here, this 72.25 area, for it to come back.
All right.